Good morning, Lemon Nation. It's Friday. It's a rainy
It is
Friday here in New
Friday.
York. How you doing, Nikki?
I'm doing all right. As good as one can be. All
It's
the
been a long
news.
week. It's been a long
It has
week.
been a long week, but we're so
Um,
happy that you guys are here with us.
some of you now know who we are. Many of you do not. We are not Don. If you haven't heard by now, Don unfortunately had just a terrible family emergency this week. His sister passed away, so we have been filling in. He's okay. We have been relaying all of your thoughts and prayers and well wishes. They mean the world to him. We don't have an exact timetable of when he's coming back, but I'm sure it will be soon because he misses you guys. He loves you guys. And yeah, for now, you're stuck with us, and we have a great show. And we have the one and only Reecie Colbert, host of the Reecie Colbert Show on SiriusXM. Reecie, thank you so much for stepping in. You're a fan favorite.
Oh, thank you. It's always good to be with Lemonation.
We are
They love
so
you.
excited to have you.
Yes. And I reached out to Don and I just send him my love and my prayers as always.
Oh, I'm sure that meant the world to him. Thank you. Reecie, what the hell's going on? We got Trump cratering the economy. We got a new woke pope. We have Judge Jeanine Pirro, the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, 23rd Fox News cast member now to join the administration to some degree. What's going on? What world are we living in?
I think we're living in a really terrible reality show that should have been canceled like 4 years ago. I thought we did that, but then it's been like a reboot that is worse. So yeah, this is unhinged. It's unserious. And I mean, people aren't tired yet of just the freak show that we're living in called America right now. This is really, really ridiculous. I didn't think it could get more ridiculous, but Trump never ceases to surprise.
Can we dig
Like
into the tariffs? I think that's the breaking news of the morning. We just got word a little over an hour ago that at the very least Trump is musing about reducing the tariffs on China. He's saying that he might be willing to bring down the rate from 145%, which is effectively an embargo, let's be real,
Right, exactly.
to 80%, which is frankly still kind of an embargo. Reecie,
Yeah.
what should we make of all of this? Will this even spare the small business sector, or are we're still just as doomed as we were?
We're just as doomed. Listen, even 10% is high tariffs. Now, there are historically, what has happened is there have been different tariff percentages on different products because the whole purpose of tariffs is to shore up certain industries, to make sure that the United States is not at a competitive disadvantage because it's so much dirt cheaper to make goods other places. And so, certain industries, we want to make sure that we're making goods in America, but other industries, we don't have the capacity nor the desire to make those goods. And so to just put blanket tariffs on countries without being industry specific is damaging, as we've seen in terms of different layoffs that are happening in the United States, by the way, in terms of the stock market, in terms of the treasury market. Everything is saying this is bad policy. So I'm personally one of those small businesses. I have a manufacturer in China. And so the difference in costs are astronomical compared to when I bought my same goods in the Biden Harris administration. So 80%, people have to understand, is 80% is on top. So that's still practically doubling the cost of goods coming from China. So I have a manufacturer, so it's doubling my cost, not necessarily the retail price. But if people are buying from Temu or from TikTok, because TikTok got a lot of Chinese retailers, it might be, people who are influencers selling it, but people who are buying directly from Chinese retailers, they're going to pay 80% on top of the retail price. And so this is really, really damaging in every way possible. The fact that he's doing this kind of like musing about what the tariffs will be is something that just doesn't instill confidence. So that's another part of the problem.
Yeah, Nikki, what do you think's going on here? Is it finally Scott Bessent shaking some sense into Trump? Is it, I don't know, Peter
I
Navarro
believe
is
it.
homesick and he hasn't been able to whisper in Trump's ear for a day or two? What's happening?
We can only hope. Yeah, Dave Navarro, Ron Barrett could just please step aside. I think it could be a number of things. We know that Trump takes his approval rating to heart.
Mhm.
He needs to feel like he is worshipped. And his numbers have been going down.
Mhm.
That's an objective fact. And I do think that there was this expectation from the Trump administration that they were going to put these tariffs on, and China was immediately going to be knocking on their door, being like, please, 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 let's figure something out. And that just didn't happen.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, they have no reason to. It doesn't matter. So I think that they're realizing that China's not going to bend.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this walk back. And I think we've seen this with Trump a lot. This whole like, do something insane. When it doesn't work out, walk it back, walk it back, walk it back till it's almost back to where it was, but slightly worse, and then declare it a win.
Yeah.
Something. And I feel like that's what we're going to see happen here.
Yeah, I think what Trump doesn't quite appreciate is how low Americans' tolerance for pain, tolerance for discomfort is.
Right.
You know, back in 2020, the government asked people to just stay in their homes for 6 weeks, watch some TV, throw on the Hallmark Channel, and we all collectively lost our fucking minds.
Yeah.
So the idea that we're now for like a year or more just going to obliterate an entire sector of our economy, I don't think people are going to be down with that. But Reecie, I want to talk about $30. I want to talk about $30 becoming $3. I want to talk about 250 pencils becoming 5 pencils. I'm obviously referring to the now infamous clip, 2 clips actually. He's really obsessed with $30 that Trump uttered earlier this week. J.D. Vance just killed DePope Vance. Now has sort of expanded on this $30 cinematic universe with a clip of his own. Andy, can we play that, please?
The president said, you know, maybe American kids should have $3 instead of 30 or whatever the number was. Do you agree? Do you tell the people of this country that you need to make some sacrifices in order to reorganize this bad trade relationship?
Well, I think the president's point here is that, yeah, we do need to become more self-reliant, and that's not going to happen overnight, and it's not always going to be easy, Martha. But what I'd ask people is not whether they want $2 or $5 or $20 for their kids. I'd ask American moms and dads, would you like to be able to go into a pharmacy and know that the drugs your kids need are actually available to you as an American parent? Would you like to, God forbid, if your country goes to a war and your son or daughter is sent off to fight, would you like to know that the weapons that they have are good American-made stuff, not made by a foreign adversary? What President Trump is talking about is bringing self-reliance back to the United States economy. We have
So, Reecie, I don't think the comms people were involved in workshopping that answer, because your kid can only have $3 because we need to be able to send them to war.
Right.
Not a winning message, not necessarily one that inspires confidence.
No, definitely not. And let me just fact check JD Vance. He should know damn well that we have something called the Defense Federal Acquisitions Regulations. It's the DFARS. We do not import weapons. Okay. There might be a small like piece of wire or cable or something or a chip that comes from overseas, but defense contractors in America make a shit ton of money manufacturing things in America. So that's already false. This administration is the one trying to put tariffs on pharmaceuticals and raise the price of pharmaceuticals, which is going to make it harder to access prescription drugs when people need it. So there's also that. But look, I'm a mom. I have a 4-year-old, okay? If she has plenty of dolls, she probably doesn't need more dolls. But guess what? I don't want to pay $50 for the dolls that I'm getting for her. I can go on Amazon. Okay, what you want? It's $10. Boom. We done. You know what I'm saying? So the idea that it's parents that need to moderate as opposed to Donald Trump needs to stop fucking up the economy. That's what it is. And guess what? To your point earlier, Americans don't vote for pain. Americans don't vote for sacrifice. Americans don't vote for less. We vote because apparently all of the gains, the millions of jobs that were gained under the last administration, all the people who got health care, the little bit of student loan relief that happened, and all of the other things that happened weren't enough because Americans always want more, more, more. So I don't understand how they could possibly think that the message of less, less, less is going to actually work in their favor.
Nikki, we talked about this in a couple of editorial calls this week. I believe that Trump fundamentally does not understand why he won the election. right?
Mhm.
There are a lot of factors. There's racism, of course. There's sexism, of course. There was the Gaza war, of course. But I think the core reason was global inflationary forces and the cost of living, right? It's the fact that people were not able to buy as much stuff as they used to.
Yep.
That is, I think, the chief reason why he's sitting in the Oval, and he doesn't get that. He's like,
No.
fuck the prices. You know, Americans can now live with $3 instead of $30.
He
What do you
essentially
think of that?
thinks that he's the king. That he's been given this mandate. He keeps saying that we won by a landslide. They didn't. And that he has this mandate to basically do anything he wants, which is absurd because I also think he fundamentally does not understand how, like, the value of $1 and how tariffs work. Like, you have to keep in mind, these people are billionaires. So to him, when someone says, hey, this thing is going to be, that used to be $100, is now going to be $300. To these people, okay, that's nothing. They don't see it. They're never going to feel it. So I think that it's just a matter of, like, just deal with it for a little while. We're doing this thing. We're going to make America great again because he's obsessed with McKinley. But no, he fundamentally does not understand why he's in there and how this works, how any of these policies or tariffs actually work.
It reminds me of the Arrested Development quote from Lucille Bluth. It's a banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
$10.
But can I also say, though, that, like, you can't gaslight people on prices. So, Peter, to your point, I'm one of the people who, like you, I believe that fundamentally, yes, the trans issue, yes, the immigration issue, yes, racism and sexism were issues, but people were feeling the pinch from the higher prices. And you can't gaslight your way out of that. And if you're explaining, you're losing. And so even though the last administration did so much and we had less inflation than the everybody else around the globe, it wasn't enough for a lot of people to either get their ass off the couch or to decide to stay the course. And so this idea that they can just say, like Trump could say, well, everything is down. The price of everything is down. No, the hell it's not. A McDonald's 6-piece chicken nugget meal I went the other day was $8. I was like, when did it was $4.50 in January. Now it's $8. Okay. And there were some chicken nugget truthers because the MAGA people did not like me saying that the chicken McNuggets was $7. But I had the receipts. I'm recent with the receipts. So you can't gaslight your way out of what it costs people to live in this country. And so there are still some people that are hanging on like, oh, well, it's only temporary. No, we could potentially be seeing a permanent or at least long-term realignment of where the prices are going to be in a way that is not going to bode well for Republicans. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I love that point. Someone in the chat was fact-checking me and saying that misinformation was one of the chief reasons Trump also won, and that's true.
It's true.
Oh, 100%.
But to Reese's point, you can't misinform folks about prices. That's one area where you can't lie to them, you can't gaslight them because they see the sticker shock.
Yeah,
I
Nikki?
agree with that, but I also have one counterpoint. So I do think that, yes, they're going to see the prices go up, but some of these MAGA voters it's almost cult-like in their worship of Donald Trump. And I feel like they'll see the prices going up, but they will somehow, in their minds, twist this to being like, but this is Biden's fault, or this is Hillary's fault, or Obama did this. Because, like, they refuse to put the blame on Donald Trump. I'm just, and I know I'm speaking kind of anecdotally from some very hardcore MAGA people that are in my family, that it feels like even facts, even things that they are seeing with their own eyes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It can't be him. It's not him. It's Biden. Biden did this somehow.
But can I just say, though, we don't need MAGA to have a come to Jesus moment.
That's true.
The Republicans won the House from 7,000 votes in 3 districts. That's it. 7,000 votes determined out of, I believe it was 70 something million votes cast. 7,000 votes determined the balance of the House. And so all you need is a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there, and boom, that makes the difference. Now, obviously, there's a lot more work in the Senate, and obviously Donald Trump ain't going nowhere. But we have seen a lot of cases where the lady who was just at the White House the other day, small business, was talking about, please do something about these tariffs. I think that people they think, a lot of MAGA people still think that they can appeal to Donald Trump and say, well, I voted for you. You know, you don't want to hurt my business, right? We're seeing a lot of that. So I agree that there's just a part of MAGA that's immovable, doesn't matter. But we're seeing in the ratings and the polling that there are some people that are like, ooh, even the billionaires that was all on board because they was getting their tax cuts. Now they're like, whoa, slow down, man. This is crazy.
It is fascinating.
That is a good point. That a lot of that basically what we need is the independents and the more swing Republicans.
The bulwark Republicans.
The bulwark Republicans, exactly. Your more constitutionalist Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to like have that come to Jesus moment where they see.
We just really 89 million people don't vote. Last election, that was not all Republicans. That was actually, matter of fact, the data shows that a good portion of that was Democrats. I mean, there were 8 or 9 million fewer votes for Democrats in this last election. So there's a massive pool of people out there that are not cultists. They aren't like, oh, super in love with Trump. They just felt like, well, what's in it for me? I don't know why I need to vote. It doesn't make a difference for me. And now, at least because of that pain, Peter, they're gonna say, well, shit, at least defense. Okay, maybe I won't get better, but I won't be that much worse off if I at least make sure that these people aren't in charge.
It is stunning the extent to which people can delude themselves into thinking that the leopard is never going to eat their face. You know, it ate Bob's face, it ate Nancy's face, it ate my mom's face, but it's not going to eat my face. Never.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to the $30 for just a minute, because there's a clip of Trump in the Oval, either yesterday or perhaps a little earlier this week. It's been making the rounds. Trump popping off at Mattel, apparently the country of Mattel, not the company, the country.
Mattel, I don't know. I'm not so sure. They also said they're the only country I've heard. They said, well, we're going to go counter. We're going to try going someplace else. That's okay. Let him go, and we'll put 100% tariff on his toys, and he won't sell one toy in the United States, and that's their biggest market. I heard that. I mean, I watched this guy talking about how I'm going to go counter. I said, well, I wouldn't want to have him as an executive too long.
Okay, so I'm of two minds about this, Reecie, because on the one hand, Donald Trump is absolutely stupid enough to believe that there's a country out there called Mattel.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
However, there's been an interesting Freudian slip that he's made a few times over the past couple of months, where when he's talking about the United States, he doesn't call us a country, he calls us a company. He says, we are the biggest, strongest company on the face of the planet. So what do you think's going on here? Is it just a Freudian slip, or is he truly as stupid as we think he is?
Well, he's definitely a dumbass. But I'm trying to rack my brain, like, okay, what are some M countries that he could have been to be like, okay, is he thinking of an M country, but then he's also thinking of Mattel? Like, I don't even know how the fact that Joe Biden got all the bad rap around his mental cognitive abilities when this guy has been doing word salad to say stupid shit for years. But I thought that the whole point of the tariffs was to keep American companies in America. So somebody needs to give him the memo that Mattel is an American company. You cannot tariff America. Okay, that ain't how it works. We don't. That's called taxes. That's called corporate tax. It's called income tax. It's called sales taxes. Now, this tariffs is a tax that we pay, but you can't put a tariff on America, Donald Trump. So there's so many lessons that obviously this man is unhinged about. But the problem with him as well is that he takes this personal. He thinks that negotiations in which obviously every country and corporation wants to operate in their best interest is an affront to him because he thinks that he's ruler of the universe. And no, it's business, it's survival, and it's trying to position themselves appropriately. And so if every time he feels slighted, then now he's going to react in this rash manner, we're in for a long haul, and it's only going to be to our detriment. I don't give a damn if people don't like Donald Trump, if they don't like Elon Musk, if they're not buying Starlink, if they're not buying Trump steaks or whatever he's hawking these days. The country needs to be in a position where we're improving our economy, and where if all you care about is companies, then position them in a way for success, not for what's going to be coming, product shortages, price increases, and layoffs.
Well said. Very well said. Nikki, any closing thoughts on the tariffs before we move on to Ms. Judge Jeanine Pirro?
Oh, well, I mean, you asked if he's just that dumb. Yes, absolutely. Like, absolutely. Have you heard this man speak? Did we not see when he was arguing about the tattoo on the man's hand?
The MS-13.
The voters from MS-13. And I even thought, I'm like, well, maybe he was confused. He can't be that stupid. But then when you watch that no, he's that stupid. He's that dumb. It's every time I think like, well, can't be that bad. It's worse. It's worse than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done checked out. I don't know if he's ever really been there. So
yeah.
Can I add one more thing on the tariff comment? Because the tariff thing is something that irks my soul. Yesterday, he said that we're losing less money to China because when he was asked about the dock workers and the docks and the imports slowing down, I just want people to be very clear because the president is a dumbass and he's misinforming people. Trade is not losing money. Okay, we're not losing money to China because we buy more from China than they buy from us. I know I said this in my video yesterday, so I know he's a casino guy. So he's used to people on the craps table and Russian roulette and poker. And so you put your money down. If you don't win that hand, you assed out. You lose. You don't go, oh, well, you get a t-shirt or a shot glass as a consolation. No, you just don't have your money anymore. We are buying goods, we're selling goods. And when you buy goods, you have a good to go with you. The tariffs is losing money because I'm paying now this massive tax on something and the value of that product is the exact same. So now I have less utility and less value for that product because now it's cost exponentially more because of some arbitrary number that Donald Trump's thrown out there. So I just want people to be very, very clear about this. Trading and trade deficits does not mean that we are losing money. It's not gambling. It's not being taken advantage of. It's just a regular transaction, no different than if you go on Amazon and buy it, or if you buy a 12-pack of water and then you go sit outside of a stadium and you sell each bottle of water for $4. That's called transactions of commerce, So I just want people to really understand that because I think fundamentally part of what people are not yet understanding how bad this is because people still seem to think that we're losing money, that we're being taken advantage of, and that this is going to magically bring jobs back. When 41 million jobs in this country are reliant on trade, importing and exporting. So when there were retaliatory tariffs, that's hurting us. When we're not importing things, when there are product shortages, guess what? You have less retail shifts. You have higher prices. There's less variety that's available. So there are small businesses that can't afford to make their products anymore. So that is something that people really need to understand. Trade is a fundamental part of our economic engine. 1 in 5 jobs come from trade. And that's a net. When I'm saying 41 million jobs, people might say, well, what about the tens of millions of jobs that we lose? $41 million jobs is the net jobs that come from trade, importing and exporting. So I just had to clear that up because the part of what is not their approval is still coming from people believing the lies about what trade does. And I'm not saying trade is wonderful and perfect, but it's certainly not what Donald Trump is making it out to be.
No, thank you for taking us to Econ 101, Reecie. Sorry, Nikki, you had something to say?
That's a very good point. I actually had this argument with a family member recently about trade deficits because I think trade deficits is like it has a bad connotation. People hear that and they're like, well, that's bad. But I have a trade deficit with my grocery store because I buy from them. They don't buy from me. But I'm still getting the product that I'm paying for. And it can also be said that America, we're more of a service economy. We provide something different than manufactured goods often. So you can't just like boil this down to trade deficit and say, oh, look how high it is. They're taking advantage of us. No, we're getting something for this. It's absurd.
I wish Donald Trump was watching this conversation, was listening to this conversation. Unfortunately, I know that he's not. I know that he's watching Fox News And why do I say that? Well, it's because, as I noted at the top of the show, he just hired his 23rd former Fox cast member to now be a part of the administration. Andy, Fox News itself actually broke the news last night. Can we listen to that clip?
There are some other headlines tonight breaking just minutes ago. One of the co-hosts of The Five, Judge Jeanine Pirro, will be appointed interim United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. President Trump announced that on Truth Social just moments ago. Jeanine was Assistant District Attorney for Westchester County, New York, and then went on to serve as County Judge and District Attorney, where she was the first woman ever to be elected to those positions. She will be leaving Fox to take this position, and we obviously wish her well.
Now, if you all are not familiar with Judge Jeanine Pirro, she is, shall we say, an institution. She's not just a personality, she is a pillar of Fox News.
Yeah.
And for you Lemonheads, I want to play just a couple of quick clips to give you a taste of this woman, because she's really quite something. Andy, can we first play the clip of Ms. Judge Jeanine in Chappaqua?
I'm in the woods in Chappaqua. I'm looking for Hillary. I can't find her. Hillary! You think she's in the woods? I bet she's in the woods. Hillary! Come out! Come out! Maybe don't come out. You think she's home writing another book? Or maybe she's still reading What Happened? Because she can't figure out what happened. Hillary! We're looking for you!
All right, Andy, just one more. I won't force you all to watch too much of her, but we need to play probably the most iconic Judge Jeanine clip of all time. And Andy, if you could try and rewind it to get to the very beginning, I'd appreciate it.
My resolution? Airstrikes. Bomb them. Bomb them. Keep bombing them. Bomb them again and again.
Airstrikes. Bomb them. Keep bombing them. Bomb them again. Reecie, what do you make of Judge Jeanine Pirro?
First of all, why do people want these jobs from Fox News? That's part of what I'm confused by. Like, you got a good gig going, you're on Fox News, you're making millions of dollars, people love you. Why the hell you want to go be a prosecutor in DC? That's weird on her part. The other weird part is, why does Donald Trump want these people there? Like, is it just because it's fun to say that, like, oh, these are people that I watch on TV and I'm a fan of, and now they work for me? Like, I'm just trying to understand why it's appealing on either side. Especially with this being an interim role. I don't know. It's just like these people are like, it's almost like they're playing characters. Like this is not real life for them. This is some sort of fucking Black Mirror simulation that they're in. And this is a game. And unfortunately, it has real consequences for us. So, I mean, technically, does she have some credentials? Yeah, I mean, she does. But it's still a very, very odd choice. And it's, like I said, it's an unserious choice. So, I don't know. I'm just curious what kind of villain outfit she's going to put on. We know Kristen Noem is the main cosplayer. She got an ice jacket, this FBI jacket. She got everybody's jackets on. So I'm curious how, this is going to play out, at least visually, with Judge, now I guess Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
I feel like I know why Trump chose her, but I mean, I think he's just watching Fox and he's like, oh, this one likes me. And like, yes. She's obsessed with him. So any of them that like constantly basically just do nothing but glaze Trump, he's amazing, praise the king. He wants them in any role. He doesn't care what kind of qualifications they have. That doesn't matter. Just put them in any open role. Do we have something open? Let's throw them in there. And I think like you hear that a lot on Fox, which is why I think he's going for so many Fox News people, because to him, loyalty is the only thing that matters.
True.
To Reese's point, her resume is she is qualified, especially compared to the previous nominee, Ed Martin, who we don't even need to get into, but was a fucking mess.
Yeah.
True and proper lunatic. And that's compared to Judge Jeanine.
Which is
Indeed. I am seeing some folks in the comments raise a concern that many people have voiced, and that is that over the course of her career, there have been a number of occasions when she's appeared on Fox, and her delivery has been a bit odd. Her speech has been a bit slurred. It's an observation that many folks have made. It's an observation that I joked about last night on Twitter when the news was first announced. Sam Stein tweeted an outside the box choice, to which I responded, the box in question being Franzia.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Are we being silly? Are we just joking around, or is there something to this? If you have a TV personality who is so infamous for being, let's say, perhaps tipsy while they're on television, to the point where Saturday Night Live has their caricature of you, played by Cecily Strong so brilliantly, just be a raging drunk. Is this silly, or is this something to consider here?
Well, she would come in with Pete Hegseth.
There you go.
Go out to happy hour together.
Yeah. I mean, look, even if she's not drunk, she certainly reads as drunk. It's actually, I think, more disturbing if she's not drunk. So this is just you naturally.
Well, that's funny because Trump also doesn't drink. And you're like, wait, what do you mean you're not drunk right now? How?
Right. Well, personally, I would be happy with her being as incapacitated as possible to do her job, because that means that nothing will get done. So I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? If she's off her ass, then cool. Because then maybe somebody who's actually better suited for the position will be the one calling the shots. So I can see a little silver lining in there.
I get that. Nikki, any final thoughts on the judge, or should we move on to our woke pope?
It's like every day I feel like this is why outlets like The Onion don't work anymore, because I read something and I'm like, I feel like this is a joke. I feel like this is like part of a sitcom. Nope, it's real. This is real. Okay. So, yay. We'll see how long she lasts.
We are in the bad place. We are in the bad place. All of us did some terrible wrongs in our past lives, and this is now our punishment. Okay, so I've been joking about it throughout the show. The woke pope, Pope Leo, was just named yesterday, and there has been quite a bit of freak out on the MAGA right. Andy, if you wouldn't mind throwing up a couple of the full screens we have. MAGA was originally overjoyed that it was an American pope, and then very quickly they soured on Pope Leo because they realized he had been quite critical of J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and the administration writ large. Laura Loomer called him a woke Marxist pope. Charlie Kirk said he retweeted George Floyd propaganda. And perhaps my favorite full screen is us watching friend of the show, Megyn Kelly, finding out in real time that we have a woke pope. Do we have that full screen, Andy? No worries if not.
I got to grab it.
Oh, take your time. Reecie, first of all, what do you make of folks joking that Pope Leo is a woke pope, is a so-called bulwark pope? Because let's be clear, he's not actually woke. He's got some very conservative views on homosexuality, on LGBTQ Americans or LGBTQ people. He's got some very conservative views on abortion. However, he's also clearly a champion for migrants, for brown and black people, for the poor, for the downtrodden, and he's explicitly critical of the Trump administration, which I think is a huge deal, especially when we were dealing with potentially a major backslide in a conservative pope being picked. I'm sorry, Andy, just throw that up one more time. So this is Megyn Kelly finding out in real time that we have a woke pope. You see her first post was, "Praise God, this is exciting." Then about 30 minutes later, she says, "The new pope is from Chicago, da Pope." And then finally, as reality sits in, she tweets, "Is it too much to hope that some 20-year-old ran the new pope's X account and he never looked at it?" So Reecie, I threw a lot at you. Take it wherever you want to go.
Well, I personally love the fact that the Pope dislikes, I'm gonna put that nicely, because I'm sure hate is not the right word for the Pope, but I like that he has as much contempt for JD Vance and his eyeliner as the rest of us, okay? Because he, what the Trump administration is doing, and Republicans in this country, MAGA elected, is so unconscionable. So it should not come as a surprise. And to your point, Peter, that should not be the criteria for which we call woke, is saying that, hey, being a decent human being is what we should all be, is like the standard. But I love that it's triggering them. I love it. I love it. It's so delicious. I love that they're not going to be able to prop him up for several of their causes. As somebody who's co-signing this now, when he says something that's homophobic or whatever, then they'll probably blast that out, and then they will no longer be the woke Marxist Pope anymore. But I love that he's somebody that's not going to give them that soundbite and that moral justification that they want to believe that they have. So I think this is a good news story.
Nikki, yesterday we talked about how initially a lot of folks were unnerved by the fact, before we even found out who Pope Leo is, really, before people were digging into his Twitter, folks were concerned that it was going to be an American Pope. Largely because
our global standing.
Yes, precisely.
There was concern that we'd be giving us more power.
If we're a political hegemon, if we're an economic hegemon, and now we're a religious hegemon, that's a lot of power for one country to have. But then, as we were discussing yesterday, once folks found out, he's very critical of Trump and MAGA, actually this could be a good thing. Because if they went with a more progressive pope from elsewhere, particularly the one gentleman from the Philippines, you know what MAGA would be saying. They would be calling him a DEI pope. They'd be throwing all sorts of racism at him. But because it's a white guy, because it's a straight guy, because it's an American, now his criticism of MAGA carries so much more water. And I think that's why we're seeing their minds melt in real time.
Oh, I love it too. I mean, like I said yesterday, I've never really been this invested in anything involving the Catholic Church. And I agree. When we're saying he's wokish, he's not woke by the standard definition of the term. He has very problematic views on the LGBTQ plus community. His handling of certain sexual assault situations in the church are not great. But this is the Pope. And I feel like when we were watching this, there were two ways that they could have gone. They could have chosen to stick with the message that Pope Francis was putting out there, which was very critical of Donald Trump and MAGA. Or they could have chosen to go with a more conservative choice that would have been more one of those like fire and brimstone, classic Catholicism. And I feel like by making this choice, they very clearly decided that we are going the more progressive route, which is really nice to see. And then I started seeing all the things from the MAGA folk, and now I'm all for it. Anything that upsets them, I'm all for it. Yes, let's double down.
Well, I'm surprised that Trump didn't take credit because, I was fully expecting him to say, they didn't want Trump, but, thanks to me, we got an American. I was so shocked. I'm sure it's coming. Maybe I might have given him the idea, but I would not be surprised if he took credit for the fact that we have an American Pope for the first time.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. He takes credit for literally everything else.
Yeah.
So.
How do you guys think JD Vance is feeling right now? We have Pope Francis.
Please don't let him visit with the Pope.
I was going to say, we have Pope Francis who stayed alive, who found the will to stay alive just long enough to tell JD Vance to go fuck himself to his face.
JD Vance killed that will.
Then JD Vance, yes, sucked the will to live out of the man. And then they pick a new Pope, and he just is posting up a storm saying JD Vance can suck shit. Reecie, so let's remind the audience that JD Vance is a Catholic convert. He can't be feeling too good right now.
I don't, the thing about JD is, does he have a soul? Does he have anything? I mean, this person was the same one that was super anti-Trump. I can't even recall the stuff that he was saying now, but I mean, he
compared him to a certain leader from Germany. So
okay, yeah, that's right. That's what he said. So he's just diabolical and craven and opportunistic, and so somewhere, somehow, he's managed to make these deals with himself where he doesn't take in information the same way that everybody else does. Like, he's willing to justify whatever his calculations are. So I don't know how much he cares, but if he had any shame between the Pope dunking on him and his stepbrother or half brother or whatever the situation, getting his ass kicked in the Cincinnati elections after he endorsed him, I would think he would just go, just take a beat in the corner somewhere. Just go sit down somewhere and just maybe go in a little bit of hiding because he's had a very embarrassing week.
He has. Stand by Reecie, stand by Lemonheads. I'm getting word that we have another friend of the show who's just about to join us. Is Monique Pressley. Monique Pressley is here. Monique, thank you so much for coming on. It means the world.
Hey, everybody. Love you guys.
Hey,
have you been
Monique.
listening to our conversation about Pope Leo? Do you have any thoughts?
I've been listening to it, and actually the week with Monique today is devoted to our first Black Pope.
Oh, no way. First Black Pope.
Black Pope. Girl, what? Oh, I know where you're going with it.
Because he's
Give us a
Black.
teaser.
We're
Give
all
us a
going
teaser.
with it. Yes, mama from Louisiana, Creole. I got some Bakiers in my family. I know exactly who he is. I'm so excited. I don't know what to do with myself.
When you heard the news, what was your reaction?
To say, and they said it, people.
I love it. I love it. Reecie, do you want to stick around? Do you have to go? We're going to talk a little bit with Monique, maybe a bit more about the Pope, and then we're going to do an update on the Diddy case.
Oh, no. I'll let y'all handle that. I'll let the expert Monique handle that.
Come on.
All right. Reecie Colbert, thank you so much for joining us.
And where can people see you, Reecie?
Oh, so the Reecie Colbert Show is on Sirius XM Urban View Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. live Eastern time. I'm Reecie Colbert. Y'all see the name on the screen on all socials. And my Am I Tripping game is available for pre-order on my website, amitrippinggame.com. It's the second edition.
Love it. What's the website? I can link it at the top of the chat.
It's amitrippinggame.com. This is my second edition. It's going to be so fun. Hopefully the tariffs go down before the shipment hits the dock, because I ain't trying to pay 145% on these tariffs. Okay.
We're going to have to get some of these and play them on the show one night.
Oh, yeah. That would be so much fun.
All right. It's linked at the top of the chat. Guys, go give it a look.
Yeah, everyone follow Reecie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Reecie. Monique, how you doing? Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I am well, and I have been praying for your team and sending up prayers and positive messages to Don and his family. Thanks to you guys for holding down the fort.
Well, we're happy to
We're
do
not
it.
Don.
We're not Don.
Yeah.
We know that.
Any final thoughts about Pope Leo, about how he's triggering MAGA, how he is or isn't woke or woke-ish, or a good step forward for the church, or a lateral move, or do you want to start digging straight into Diddy?
Oh no, it's an excellent move for the church. It's a move that can be credited to Pope Francis. 80% of the voting cardinals were ones that he appointed who experienced their first conclave this time. And so I have been saying, which I'll be saying soon, and when people get to see the drop, this vote came from the streets. This vote came from the global streets, and they spoke up about where the church is now and where it is going. And to me, it was a direct repudiation of the United States and of our current leadership and of the direction in which this country has gone in its treatment of other humans who are immigrant amidst a host of other issues. So yes, this is a positive step. And I mean, a Roman Catholic Pope is still a Roman Catholic Pope. So, you know, I mean, I'm woke, not woke, whatever.
Yeah.
He is progressive. He is forward moving and will continue in the line of Francis and take on other things. He chose the name Leo because the OG Pope Leo was a social justice Catholic Pope. And I think that is important now more than ever.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Nikki, any final thoughts on Pope Leo before we dig into Diddy?
Just make sure you check out Monique's piece. We're going to be dropping it at 2 p.m. So it'll be one to watch.
Should we play a clip from The View, or Monique, did you get to watch what I think Nikki sent you? So what I wanted to chat about specifically is the comment that Sunny made. I'll just quickly summarize it so we save time. The panel earlier this week was discussing how in jury selection, it's counterintuitive. Most people would think that you want to get a jury, you want to seat a jury that has not heard of Sean Diddy Combs, that is not familiar with the facts of the case, who has never heard of Cassie. And Sunny, a great friend of the show, had to take, because of course I'm not a lawyer, where she said that actually you do want folks who are vaguely aware of what's going on, that they've heard of Diddy, that they know there are these allegations out there, because you don't want folks who live under a rock, who are so out of touch that they've never heard of any of this. The key is to find folks who are vaguely aware, but are just not, in one way or another, biased, that they can still remain objective when they hear the facts of the case as the court proceedings go on. Do you agree with Sunny? What did you make of that that conversation?
Right. I mean, I listened to the whole conversation and I agreed with a little bit of what everyone was saying. Constitutionally, legally, what you're supposed to be able to get is an impartial jury of your peers. And impartial does not necessarily mean I haven't heard anything about what's happening, but think about the other end of it. You wouldn't expect a family member to be impartial, right? Depending on what the subject is, somebody who knows either one of the defendants or has worked for the prosecutor's side, that's not what you would think about as impartial, because there's bias that goes along with the relationship. And then maybe on the other end of the spectrum of what impartial is not is people who have strident positions about one of the issues. And, because they've spoken publicly about it, either they can't stand one of the defendants, or they had a prior case against the prosecutor's office, or they are victims of sexual assault, if that's what the case is about, or whatever it is. They've been robbed if it's a robbery case, and these things would be triggering. So that wouldn't be impartial. And it's not really about whether they have heard of it or not. As you guys know, I've been involved in prior cases that have so sufficiently saturated the news landscape and the global marketplace that there's no place you can go maybe where you don't know the client involved or where you don't know the circumstances involved. So it really has to boil down to getting in the weeds and figuring out the way these jurors think and whether they can sit aside their previously held views in order to listen to the facts of the case. All that being said, no, I think that it is also true that it is possible to find people who haven't heard of things before. Sometimes in the media landscape, because we do this news junkie thing all day long, we think it's impossible to have not heard about things. But I think when you step out of your own bubble and talk to people who are busy living their lives, who are busy trying to get the rent paid, trying to get the kids through school, going through their own divorces, their own traumas, their own health issues, it's easier to find people who are like, oh yeah, Sean Combs, that's the guy who had that song. No, I don't know anything about this. So it's not as hard as some people think. And I think that we find that out doing news where we're actually engaging with people every day, because we figure out how much they have not heard and how much they're kind of turning away from news, period, turning away from looking at social media all day long and where it is news related in favor of other things. So I don't know if it's as hard to find jurors who have not heard about a particular subject, or that it's a bad thing. It may mean that they are just living their own lives, not that they are under a rock.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think we've had this conversation, Peter, in our editorial calls before about a multitude of topics when we're saying, how would people not know about this? And I always use it as like, the way I try to think about it is, okay, I come from like a rural, very red district where I grew up. And I can tell you that a lot of the people there know nothing about politics. They don't look at it. They don't think about it. if they're not, and it's not, it's less that they're misinformed and that they're just not informed. And I think we forget that a lot of the country is not as inundated as we are in this everyday news cycle.
Right. And inundation is by choice. Inundation is by choice. So for instance, even where the Combs case is concerned, knew I was going to talk to you guys about it. I've got to hit someplace else talking about it tomorrow. So I checked in because of that. I wasn't following it with intention. I was not following it. And you know what? It's not that hard. It's not that hard to not know. I get my news from watching Don's show, from doing my own stuff, NPR. I look for things that I know I need to know. I don't seek out things that are just palace intrigue. That's not my jam right now. There's too much important stuff on the line. So I've been looking at Medicaid every day. I haven't been trying to find out what's going on with Sean Diddy, Love, Combs jury selection until I actually needed to comment on it in an expert manner. That was just not my thing to care about.
Well, speaking of keeping folks informed, can you give us a rundown of how court proceedings have gone this week? Because the last time we did an update, I think it may have been Tuesday, Nikki, they had they had seated 2 members of the jury. What's the process been like so far? Are there any outrageous moments that have come out of court? What's gone on so far?
No, the things that people are caring about, and again, it was discussed briefly on that View clip. If people haven't seen the View clip, let me explain. A concern was raised by one of the co-hosts about how many people's celebrity names are getting kind of splashed. And we saw some of that through the week. With different names of high profile people. And because this case is so ugly and the accusations are so horrible, you know, with sex trafficking across state lines and things like that are involved. And because of that horrible, just physically abusive video that we saw before there ever was an arrest or we got to this point of a trial, nobody wants to be associated with that. So the co-host was saying, you know, these names come out and the names get splashed across the page. I'm intentionally not mentioning the names right now, but that the names come out, they turn into headlines, even though there's no information about why the name is attached. And how there is a scourge in this fictitious court of public opinion for being attached to something, even when you don't know why their name is on the witness list. But as Sunny said, I agree, there's not a lot that can be done about that because jury proceedings, federal trials period, are public. They are public for a reason, that is the protection of the defendant. That you can't hold trials in secret and nobody know what you're doing. Nobody know whether the person who's on trial is getting their constitutional rights the way they're supposed to. The trials in secret are not free. They're not fair. And so there's not really a way to not list these names on witness lists and ask the jury what you've got to ask about them, for the same reasons we've already discussed, that they could know somebody, they could have worked with somebody in the past, they could be a super fan of somebody, or they could be super crazy hater of somebody. And all those things, if you don't ask about the people whose names potentially are going to come up, you can't get to that information.
So
Understood.
interesting.
Yeah, I get that. But that's something, and I do understand the concern with like the people using these big names as clickbait. But I understand there's no really way around it. I think that means that the responsibility is on media with how they cover it, to be sure that they don't spread misinformation about these individuals before there's any facts.
Yeah, and I thought as of end of yesterday there were 4, but I might be wrong. I can look it up. Somebody was asking about how many jurors there are so far.
I'm surprised they're moving as quickly as they can. I just feel like with all of these names, not just, of course, Diddy, but the other celebrities that we've been talking about.
It's actually 6.
6.
And they need 12, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
halfway there.
Yeah. They're halfway
Monique,
there.
thank you so much for coming on. What lift our spirits on this Friday. What are you thinking about? What are you doing this weekend? Anything fun? What have you? Yeah.
You know what? I am doing some work this weekend, but I would say that continuing to work is the easiest way to lift your spirits in these times. If you are a person who's inundated by news and it gets depressing and you have a lot of anxiety, a lot of trepidation, a lot of fears about the just complete lack of professionalism and lack of information and lack of know-how that we're seeing from the executive branch, from the capitulation of Congress and of many other corporations and organizations, I would say, as my dear friend, Attorney Ben Crump always says, get in the arena. Get in the arena and fight. The best place for you to do that is right in the phone that you have in your hand, sharing information with your group chat, sharing information in your neighborhood, working in community, because a lot of these things that are happening federally can't really happen locally without you letting it. So show up. Convince yourself, convince your neighbors that it matters. And we all just have to be looking out for each other. The other thing I would say is, because I just had, I'd been missing for a few weeks, but I had a voice lesson yesterday. Find something that takes you completely outside of yourself. I've taken up piano again. I'm back doing voice lessons. I'm digging in with friends and family, planning good times in the middle of all of this chaos. And if you can take yourself outside of yourself and outside of this, do something, put your feet in some grass, get with a friend, drink too much wine, get whatever your lane is, go to a movie, just something that removes the pressure for a little while, then absolutely go for it. Do that, because you deserve it. You deserve to not spend every day taking an L. Put some wins on the board, even if the win is just having some fun and being in community.
Yeah. Touch grass, as the young kids say. Nikki, any final thoughts on this lovely Friday, this lovely rainy Friday, if you're in New York?
Just echoing what Monique said. I mean, you gotta keep fighting, but sometimes to do that, you need to take some time for yourself. That's
like
I said last weekend, I did that for myself. That was my birthday present to myself. I took a day and I turned off my news notifications and I didn't look at it, and it was so nice. But then when I came back the next day, I felt like I missed so much.
But see, Nikki, people live with no news notifications.
I know. That's almost everyone in my my family, especially my extended family. Yes. So it's a reminder when we care. I think they should care. I care so much. And it is a reminder when I speak to some people that aren't in this world that they just don't know.
Yeah.
Monique, do you know the line that for a couple months now Don has been saying at the end of the show? Would you care to say it today to all the Lemonheads in the Lemon Nation?
I will happily say to Lemon Nation, first, I love you, and turn the TV off.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support.